Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with a new Korra comic video news update for you guys today. And this is a pretty big one. We, out of nowhere, have the preview pages for Legend of Korra Turf Wars Part 1. This is a preview coming out 4 months before the release of this book. This book is going to be released June 7th, 2017 in comic book stores. June 20th is going to be the mass market release from Amazon and so on. So it's just under 4 months until the comic book store release. It's just over 4 months until the mass market release. This is probably one of the earliest times we've ever had a preview. I think the only other time we've had an Avatar comic previewed this early has been if like a convention had come around at like the perfect moment and they happened to have a preview ready to put out. But it speaks to the fact that Dark Horse clearly want to heavily promote this first Korra comic to make it very clear that this is going to be a big thing. It's the continuation of the show. It's continuing the Korra-Sami relationship. This is kind of what I was expecting. I was expecting Dark Horse to go hard on the promotion of this book, and seeing this EW article, Entertainment Weekly article, with the preview pages this early highlights that. I think we could see even more preview pages as we lead up to release. I think this is like the Korra-Sami preview. I think we could see a what's happening in Republic City preview pages, or at the very least they'll have more interviews with Mike and Irene Coe and stuff like that, the creative team. So yeah, in this video I'm going to go over the 8 preview pages that we got, kind of analyze them, discuss the art style with our first look at the art colored in, and so on. So I'll have the images up on screen here for you guys, and yeah, let's get into it. So yeah, first of all, the art team is Irene Coe is the artist, who's doing the kind of line work, of course. As we've seen, she's been posting some stuff on social media, Twitter and Tumblr, and we've seen some shots before. We haven't seen any colored in shots though of the comic, so that's what's very notable about this preview. The colorist is a little up in the air. When the book was announced, it was announced that Jane Bach was going to be the colorist. But Irene Coe on Twitter a couple of weeks back said that the colorist had changed, and it's now Vivian Ng who did the coloring in the Legend of Korra Free Comic Book Day book, Friends for Life. So I don't know if it's a case of like Jane Bach did some of the coloring and then Vivian Ng took over, or if it's just all of it is Vivian Ng now, because obviously we haven't heard a lot since that announcement at New York Comic Con last year. But either way, not knowing the colorist right now, I'm going to assume it's Vivian Ng just for the sake of the discussion, and we'll continue. So let's get into these. We'll kind of recap it. So the first page, as you can see here, really nice, showing that immediately we are starting off with this comic immediately after the end of Korra Book 4. We end Book 4, they walk into the portal, we start the Korra comic, they walk out of the portal, and they're in the spirit world. Really nice transition. I'm assuming that this is the first pages. I don't think there's any page numbers on any of these, so yeah, realistically we have to assume that these are the first pages. But anyway, we get the first dialogue here. Welcome to the spirit world. I can't believe I'm actually here. So this is Asami experiencing the spirit world for the first time, which I think it might have a lot of people questioning, like, has Sammy been to the spirit world or not? She actually hasn't, because the closest she came to going to the spirit world was in Book 2, the big fight at the end. She was actually tasked with basically bringing Tonrock back to Senna so he could be healed. So that meant that Asami actually missed out on going into the spirit world to have the fight with Unalaq, whereas Mako and Bolin did actually go with Korra. So Asami never actually went into the spirit world, whereas Mako and Bolin have at least been there to a little degree. So this is actually makes sense. It is in continuity that Asami, this is her first time in the spirit world. So Korra showing her kind of knowledge of the spirit world here, that she's actually, for one of the first times ever, she is the more experienced person in the spirit world than someone else. She's kind of the more confident one because Asami hasn't been there before. So Korra says, the spirit world is a pretty unpredictable place. You never know when the ground might drop out right from under you, so stay close. I don't want us to get separated. And I suppose there's a subtle little romantic moment. Asami says, me either, ... kind of alluding to the fact that she wants to be close to Korra. There's a reference there with the ground might drop right out from under you, in that is how Korra was separated from Jinora in the guide back in book 2. She was obviously arguing with the kind of groundhog spirits, and then they opened the ground up underneath them, and that's how Korra and Jinora got separated. So yeah, that's nice. Some nice references immediately on the first page. Second and third pages are meant to be kind of put together side by side as a double page spread. I might edit them together so it looks what it's meant to show you guys. So we get Asami saying, so where do we start our vacation? As we get a really, really nice look at this kind of general area of the spirit world that they're in. I really like the colors here and the kind of general look on the landscape, and that it reminds us of some aspects of A New Spiritual Age when we saw the spirit world, when Korra was in there, with the fact that there's like mountain ranges off in the distance, that there are some areas of the spirit world that do look quite similar to the real world, just the colors and the obviously spirits that are inhabiting it are what make it look so different. But the most notable thing on these 2 pages is definitely the dragon bird spirit front and center, which we know of well from book 2, A New Spiritual Age. It's the primary episode we see it in, and that obviously has a big connection to Korra. And I think this comic is more or less establishing that this dragon bird spirit is basically to Korra what Heibai was to Aang, and that like the closest spirit friend of Korra. And on the next page, we immediately see that the two of them are riding on this dragon bird spirit. I really actually like the bottom panel on this page, in that you can see that this the shot with the kind of green lily pad trees. If you've been following Korra for a long time as the show is coming out, you will notice that area as being one that they've kind of shown a couple of times in various different kind of promo shots and posters, that we have seen that general area of the spirit world with all the green, really bright area. It was one of the first times we saw the spirit world in Korra, and everyone, when they were initially saw it, was shocked that like the spirit world was so bright, and that was a big thing in Korra, establishing that the spirit world was actually light as well as the darkness that it kind of was shown in ATLA. So that's pretty nice that Iron Co represented that well-known area so well in her art style. Next page, again, no dialogue, but a really nice kind of basically full page of art, with 3 kind of long panels. The first one with the kind of lily pad kind of trees that they're jumping between. The next one with Korra and Asami swimming together, which is interesting in that obviously we've never actually seen Korra's like swimwear before. We saw Asami, Mako, and Bolin in their swimwear in middle book 2, when Mako and Bolin went to live with her for a while, but kind of Korra arrived when they were in the pool, and we didn't actually get to see her swimwear, so it's interesting to see her kind of more tribal kind of get up there from the water tribe. But we don't get the best look at it, but it's just nice that we do get to see a little bit of that. Them swimming together is pretty notable. The third panel there is interesting just because of the waterfall and how different it is. The way it kind of flows crazily down from the top of the mountain, and obviously kind of Korra and Asami having I suppose somewhat of a picnic together down there on the bottom. Next page is interesting in that this is probably the one where we get the most, I suppose, potential insight into the dynamic between Korra and Asami as a couple, in that there's this kind of competitive edge that you sort of get from this page. Korra says, "Race you to the top." Asami says, "You know what I'm thinking." Korra says, "Race you to the top," and they're basically going to have a climbing match to see who can climb up this little rock face the fastest. So I suppose this potentially is a thing within their relationship, that they like to be a little bit competitive with each other, and it'll be interesting to see if they continue this as the book progresses. And you see there's a little bit of teasing here, looking at a little slow avatar as Asami takes the lead. Korra says, "I'm going easy on you," and then the mountain begins to like rumble and move, and both of them are kind of like shook by this. And it's revealed on the next page that this is in fact a part of a giant rock spirit that they're climbing, who says, "Who dares climb on me?" Korra says, "I'm sorry, noble spirit, we didn't realize." And the spirit says, "I should have known, pesky humans." And Korra just replies saying, "I'm not pesky, I'm the avatar." And the spirit doesn't like that. He says, "Even worse, I didn't complain when you kept the northern and southern portals open, but creating a new one has gone too far. The human and spirit world should have remained separate. Korra just explains that the new spirit portal was kind of an accident, as the spirit flings both Korra and Asami just off into the distance, like crazy strong, this spirit, and just flings them that like they're in trouble if they land here. Like, this is a pretty dangerous situation for them, and Korra has to do a kind of desperate airbending move to save both herself and Asami as they land, not massively heavily, but it's not exactly a light landing here as they land on the ground. Are you okay? Talk to me. Asami is fine. And Korra just says, what a disaster. I wanted our first big getaway to be perfect, not almost get us killed. I'm sorry. And Asami says, we've been through a lot worse together, and I'm not going to let one disgruntled spirit ruin all the fun we've had. You shouldn't either. And Korra just says, you're right. And that's the end of our 8 preview pages. So overall, in terms of like the story, the kind of character interaction content that we get here, it's the kind of basic start that we expected, I think, of the first 10 or so pages covering their experience on their kind of spirit world vacation. I assume there's still, outside the preview, probably 1 or 2 more pages left of this spirit world vacation. I can't see them doing many more than like just a couple more pages, otherwise it's taking up a little bit too much of the book, but still it's pretty interesting nonetheless. And then, like, I suppose in terms of the Korra and Asami dynamic, the primary thing that we get here is just them kind of experiencing the spirit world. Korra herself is somewhat experienced in the spirit world, but even herself isn't the most kind of knowledgeable person in the spirit world. So Korra is taking it quite kind of cautious, and is obviously wanting to protect Asami here. And you can see that they're kind of getting on well on this, their kind of first kind of outing together. Like getting to see the Dragonbird spirit again, seeing little kind of cute moments like them swimming together, kind of having a picnic together. I do think that the little kind of competitive thing of them racing to the top of the mountain is perhaps the one notable insight into perhaps what their relationship dynamic is. Not to say that their whole relationship dynamic is going to be based around them kind of trying to like outdo each other and constantly creating these competitions, but it could just be a little thing to them that they're both kind of competitive to a degree. So I think they chose the preview pretty well in that, like, it's a great look at the art. It's a hint as to potentially where the Korra and Asami relationship is going to go, is going to be developed, what their dynamic's going to be. And then the little interaction with the rock spirit, I think, is a really nice preview of what the overall plot/theme of the book is actually going to be. In that, immediately what is presented with this conflict here is the human spirit conflict. That the spirits, at least this spirit, is not a fan of the fact that Korra has created a new spirit portal. He was relatively okay with the northern and southern spirits being open. And I suppose this represents just by the fact that he doesn't like humans, the fact that like he was fine with it being the north and south portals, because the north and south portals are located in the physical world in the north and south pole, probably the 2 most isolated areas of the entire world. So not too many people are going to go to those 2 places, and thus not too many people are going to go physically into the spirit world and potentially cause some havoc in the spirit world. But now that there's a spirit portal right in the middle of effectively the most populated kind of area in the world, United Republic, the place where all 4 bending cultures kind of come together, it's potentially a bit of a kind of troublesome kind of situation that, like, okay, we're having people actually come on vacations into the spirit world. If Korra and Asami have that idea, I'm sure other people are like, cool, there's a spirit portal right here, let's check out the spirit world, and potentially have no idea how to handle spirits and are getting themselves into trouble and annoying spirits. You can kind of get from that perspective what's going on. But at the same point, now there's another portal for spirits to go into the human world. Is that causing any chaos that way? And what's the dynamic going to be? Is it going to be that the humans are against spirits being in the physical world? Is it going to be more about the issue of humans going into the spirit world, or what? Either way, we know that to some degree the idea of someone in the physical world basically creating an attraction out of the spirit portal is part of the core of what the story is going to be about. And that's going to be interesting to see, obviously, because I think one of the most notable pages that we're going to get probably within the next 10 or so pages after this preview is Korra and Asami coming out of the spirit portal again and basically being in the middle of an amusement park built around the spirit portal, and that them realizing what the problem in the spirit world is. So I like what's presented so far. Obviously we don't have a clue really what Mako and Bolin are really going to be up to outside of what we know from the description and stuff like that. We're still waiting to see a lot on that, like what other characters are going to get a focus within the book. Are we going to see much Tenzin? Any of the air kids like Jinora, Iki and Milo, are they going to get any focus? Are we going to see Tenzin's siblings? Is Lin going to be in the book all that much? I think we know she's going to make an appearance, but do we know if she's going to be a biggish role or what? That's the sort of kind of questions that obviously we still have about the book. But this definitely gave us an insight into, for me, the two key aspects of this book. The Korra and Asami relationship, and then the human spirit conflict. And I honestly didn't expect the human and spirit conflict to be brought up this early. So I really like that is actually a part of it, that Korra has experienced in the show the human spirit conflict, and then immediately at the start of the comic is also aware of that being an issue. So I'm going to end the video here by discussing the art for a couple of minutes. So as I said here, creative team, Irene Ko doing the kind of line art stuff, and then Vivian Ing is our colorist as far as I'm aware. I think the art is good. I do really like it. I think obviously it's very different than Avatar comics and Team Gurihuru's art in those comics that we are very used to. And I will say the little bit of reaction I've seen to this has been a little bit overly critical, I think. I think there are a lot of people who do appreciate Irene Ko's art, but I think there are a lot of people who are just like, why couldn't Team Gurihuru do this? And for me, the way I look at Team Gurihuru is that, like, we are kind of spoiled to have Team Gurihuru on the Avatar comics. In my opinion, they're basically some of the best kind of comic artists that I've seen out there. In terms of how clean their art is, how consistent it is, and so on, I think it's excellent. And so to like heavily compare any other comic artist against them without kind of knowing a lot about art, I think isn't really fair. This is a different style that we're not necessarily used to as Avatar fans, because we have been so used to getting such good quality art in the comics, like from Team Gurihuru, where the art is kind of more like the animation style than this, which is more like comic art in most comics. And surprisingly, with Avatar comics, we're not used to more of a standard kind of comic art style, and I think that's what we're going to have to get used to as Avatar fans, that art like this is kind of more of kind of what we should expect most of the time. That what I like about comics is that you can have stories in a fictional universe but have them be done in a different art style. That's why I like the free comics so much, getting to see art from different artists like Ryan Hill and so on, Faith Erin Hicks, to name a few. Heather Campbell obviously doing the Korra free comic. All different styles, but work in their own unique way. And then again, this is our kind of first look at Irene Ko's art colored in. I think it works, even though it is different. In terms of what I like about her art, I love how detailed the backgrounds are. I love that she's able to get the unique aspects of the spirit world with how kind of different yet somewhat naturalistic everything is. I think she gets a lot of the spirit really well done. With the Dragonbird spirit looks very accurate. Some of the areas of the spirit world that we've seen before seem accurate to the show. And then how she draws stuff like the rock spirit. And I think especially what stands out is how she drew the bending when Korra saved Asami from the bending. I think the bending effect kind of work that she did there looks very nice. I suppose what we don't really get to see a lot of here is surprisingly a lot of like kind of more up close focuses on the faces and how she's doing the expressions. And I suppose that is to some degree because these early pages are meant to kind of highlight the backgrounds of the spirit world and the fact that they're there, and more of kind of what Korra and Asami are doing together in this area rather than necessarily what they are doing kind of with each other. I suppose once we get back into Republic City, we'll probably focus a little bit more in on the characters themselves. That's kind of the one thing I'm kind of looking forward to seeing is, I suppose, more up close face kind of stuff from the characters. We get a little bit of it at the end in the last couple of panels, but from a few of the preview panels that Irene Co has put out, from pages that we don't see in this preview, I don't think there's any need to worry about how like the faces and stuff like that are going to work. I think it's still going to be quite nice here. So I like that. The colors I think are really well done. I think they get the fact that Vivian Ing gets the fact that the spirit world is a different place and has a slightly different color palette to it, and just it really seems on point to me. So yeah, that's the thing with the art style. Like, art is always this kind of very odd thing for people when it comes to like if they like it or not. It definitely, you get used to a certain thing, and if it's not the same, you tend to criticize it. But I'm used to different art styles, and so I don't really have a problem here. So yeah, pretty much going to end it there. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on this really early preview that we get for Turf Wars Part 1. What are your thoughts on the story, the Korra-Asami interactions, and I suppose most importantly, the art as well as I suppose some of the analysis I had to say here. So yeah, just going to end the video there. Link to my Twitter and Tumblr are in the description below, as well as a link to my Patreon campaign and my PayPal donation link if you want to help support my channel so I can make more videos, better videos. But that's been the video for today. Thanks for watching this video, and bye.